Hare Krishna. Satyananda Jinta Satyega Pakshe Sarvadhyakshe Bhakti Rakshadidakshe Shri Govinde Vishwasargadikande Purnanande Nityamastam Matirme Agyani Radhirupaitiya Vishesham Bhakti Paravajati Pariposha Puchaihi Tatvam Param Spurati Durgamam Apyajashram Satkunya Bhritvarachitam Pranamami Geetam Gauram Sukas Satkumada Pramodi Swabhi Kayagostamo Nihanta श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य सुदानि धर्मे मनोदितिष्ठन् स्वरतिं करोतु प्राचीन वाचः सुविचार्य सोऽहम् अज्ञोऽपि गीतामृतले सलिक्षुः यतः प्रभोरे मदेत तत्र शन्तक्षमत्वं शरणागतस्य तप्रविश्यामाजमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीव्यत्यकृशक्तिधरस्वदाम्ना अन्यां तहस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम् पान्त्वस्मान् पुरुहूत वैरिबलवन्मातङ्गमाद्यद्घटा कुम्भोच्चात्रिविपाटनादि कपटु प्रत्येक वज्रायिताः श्रीमत्कण्ठीरवास्य प्रदर्शनकरा धारिदारातिदूर प्रध्वस्तत्वान्तशान्तप्रवृतितमनसा भाविता भूरिभागैः. Hare Krishna, welcome you all for this Gita Sastri course. Today we are discussing about the 5 important subjects of Shastras. Praptasya Brahmanorupam, Praptasya Pratyagatmanah, Praptipayam Phalam Praptehe, Prapti Virodhistada, Vadanti Sakala Vedaha, Sapurana Itigasakaha, Munayascha Mahatmanaha, Veda Vedantinaha. So these are the 5 subjects matter which all the Shastras that discuss, that is Ishvara, Jiva, and the Upaya, the way to attain him, and the Phala or the result, end result of attaining him, and the Virodhi, the enemy which is in between the soul and the Paramatma. So these are the 5 subjects usually the Shastras they describe. But as a Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we saw yesterday how in Bhagavad Gita there is one more important tattva, that is Prema Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti is also discussed, because while explaining the glories of Kurukshetra, other acharyas they explain Kurukshetra from Shastric point of view, from Puranic point of view, from the point of view of demigods, from the point of view of rishis. But when our acharyas, when they describe about Kurukshetra, they discuss the significance of Kurukshetra in relation with Radha and Krishna, in relation with Vraja Leela. Because when Krishna left Vrindavana, he didn't meet the Vrajavasis for a long time. It was like 50 years. And then there was a chance to meet all the Vrajavasis when there was a Surya Grahana. Everyone assembled in Kurukshetra. Usually Vrajavasis, they don't go outside of Vraja, but when they heard that Krishna is coming, so they all set to see Krishna. So they all came to Kurukshetra. This happened when Krishna was 50 years old. So when they came, Krishna was hankering actually to see gopis, even though he was living in Dwaraka, but he was always, his heart is always hankering for gopis. And similarly, gopis, they were also thinking of Krishna all the time. And when the chance came, they met in Kurukshetra. So after a long gap, when they met, their ecstasy, their love for each other has no any limit. And especially when Krishna saw Srimati Radharani, he accepted that I can never pay you, I can never repay you. You have already conquered me by means of your love. Mayi bhaktir hi bhutanam amritatvaya kalpate dishtya yat asin mat sneho bhavati nam mat apanaha. He says, usually mad bhaktir hi bhutanam, by means of my devotional service, amritatvaya kalpate, people they attain eternal life, that is moksha. But you people, you rejected moksha also. So what can I give you? What can I offer you? The highest thing, I cannot repay you. So Krishna says, I have conquered by your love. So gopis, they were thinking to bring Krishna to Vrindavana, because they cannot enjoy Krishna in Dwaraka, they cannot enjoy Krishna fully in Kurukshetra. So that's how we have Jagannath Leela, everything happened. So this Kurukshetra, when Krishna arrived, everyone was looking for the war. But when Krishna arrived to Kurukshetra, his mind was thinking about gopis. So that's why you find when Krishna was speaking about this great philosophical treatise of Bhagavad Gita, in the middle of Bhagavad Gita, he speaks about so much about devotion service. because he was thinking about the gopis. So this is the significance for Gaudiya Vaishnavas to read Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, we don't have anything to do with Bhagavad Gita. We are very satisfied with Bhagavata. But Bhagavad Gita also, in Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna speaks about this Brajalila, this Raganuga Bhakti. So as a Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we are reading this Bhagavad Gita also. So in Puranas, there is a very beautiful verse which speaks about the glories of Bhagavad Gita. It says, Matimantanam avishya enasau shruti sagarat jagathitaya janitam mahabharata chandrama. It is said that when Vyasadeva, after editing the 4 Vedas and Puranas, then he churned his mind, Matimantanam avishya. His mind is compared to a great ocean, that is Vyasadeva's mind. He churned his mind, and from his mind, there's a beautiful moon came out of his mind. It said, Shruti Sagarat Jagathitaya Janitam Mahabharata Chandrama. From his mind, the beautiful moon-like Mahabharata has come out. So among Mahabharata, we can understand that Bhagavad Gita is the best, because it is said, Vedeshu Paurusham Suktam Dharma Shastresu Manavam Bharate Bhagavad Gita Puraneshu Vaishnavam. So among all the Suktas, Purushukta is considered as the topmost, as a king of all the Suktas, and among all the Dharma Shastra, Manu Shastra is considered as the best Dharma Shastra. Among Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita is considered as the best, and among Puranas, Vaishnava Purana is considered as the best. So that's why this Bhagavad Gita has so much glory, and also in Padma Purana we see Gita su Gita kartabhya kimanye shastra vistaraihi yasvayam padmanabhasya mukhavagdat vinishrita. When you have Bhagavad Gita, what is the need of other shastra? Because it comes from Lord's lotus mouth directly. So we have to always try to hear this Bhagavad Gita that gives us the essence of all the Vedas. And then we have this famous shloka from Adi Shankara, Sarva Parishato Gavaha Dokta Gopanandana Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdam Gita Amritam Mahat. So Krishna, he wanted to give the best because he knows that he is going to leave this planet very soon. So before leaving this planet, he wanted to give the essence of all the Vedic literature. So he has given this Bhagavad Gita. And then once Sri Vaishnava Acharya was asked why Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita in the war field at the end of his life. He could have spoken in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. He can speak this Bhagavad Gita at any point of time. Why he spoke at the end of his life in Kurukshetra. Then the Acharya, he explains that usually Krishna doesn't want to reveal this Bhagavad Gita to anyone because it is his heart. Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's heart. He never reveals this Bhagavad Gita. He never revealed this knowledge to anyone. But there was an emergency to reveal this knowledge, to make Arjuna to fight. Unless I give this knowledge, unless I reveal this knowledge, Arjuna is not going to fight. And unless Arjuna is not going to fight, the emergent situation will not be solved. What is that emergent situation? Then he says, whenever Krishna sees Draupadi, he felt so bad because Krishna has so much affection for Draupadi, and Draupadi also had so much affection for Krishna. And usually in those days, in Vedic time, women, they don't lose their hair. You cannot see women having loose hairs. Only when husband dies, or when they go to bath, or when there is some inauspicious thing happens, they loosen their hair. So now Draupadi has made a vow that unless I take a blood from Dushasana and apply it on my hair, I'm not going to tie it up. So she was roaming around with untied hair, with loose hair. Whenever Krishna saw this scene of Draupadi, he felt so bad. So he wanted to have this war very quickly. So he made so many arrangements. And at the end, now Arjuna is saying, I'm not going to fight. So in order to make Arjuna fight, he has to give up, he has to deliver, he has to reveal this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So in the emergent situation, he brought out this Bhagavad Gita knowledge. Otherwise, he is not going to speak this knowledge because it is Krishna's heart. So that's why Bhagavad Gita is considered as very important Shastra. It gives the conclusions of all the Vedic literature. So, for Bhagavad Gita, Yamunacharya has given a very beautiful grantha called Gita Sangraha. So, Gita Sangraha means he gives a Sangraha Shloka, a precise shloka, one shloka for each chapter. So, if you can understand that one shloka, you can understand the whole chapter. What are the subjects which are discussed in that chapter? You can understand by means of reading that one shloka. So, he says a Sangraha Shloka for whole Bhagavad Gita. The whole Bhagavad Gita is summarized in one shloka. He says, Swadharma, Jnana, Vairagya, Sadhya Bhakti Eva Gocharaha, Narayana Parabrahma, Gita Shastre Sameritaha. He says that that Lord Narayana, Lord Krishna is well established in Bhagavad Gita. He is the supreme person and he is well established, he is well explained in Bhagavad Gita. So how that Lord is attained? He says, Bhakti Eva Gocharaha, only by devotion we can attain that Lord. And how to get that devotion? He says, Swadharma, Jnana, Vairagya, Sadhya Bhakti Eva Gocharaha. He says there are two ways to attain Bhakti. One is by means of performing your Swadharma, and by means of Swadharma, then you get Jnana, from Jnana you get Vairagya, and from Vairagya you develop devotion. This is one way. Or Sadhya Bhakti Eva Gocharaha, or directly you can develop devotional service by means of undergoing devotional practices, or by means of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Ityadi. So, only by devotional service that Lord Narayana, the Lord Krishna is attained, and this is what Bhagavad Gita is established. So, this is a Sangraha Shloka for whole Bhagavad Gita. And you can watch our introduction classes which we have given, and there are 5 introduction classes you can go through. There we have discussed very elaborately about various aspects of Bhagavad Gita, what are the subjects matter which are discussed in the Bhagavad Gita, and how Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 parts, and what are the subjects which are discussed in the three parts of Bhagavad Gita that we have discussed very elaborately in that introduction class. So if you wish, you can watch that introduction class and you can get some idea about the categorization of Bhagavad Gita. So now we are entering inside Bhagavad Gita in the first chapter, and then for first chapter he gives a Sangraha Shloka, and we know Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 parts, 6 chapters, 6 chapters, 6 chapters. So the first 6 chapter deals with few things. He says Jnanatmike Nishte Yoga Lakshe Sanskrite Atmanubhuti Siddhyarte Purva Shadgena Chodite. He says this Purva Shadga means first 6 chapter. First 6 chapter discusses about this thing. Jnana Atmike Nishte. Atmike Nishte means understanding or realizing the soul. Jnana Atmike Nishte Yoga Lakshe Sanskrite. And how it is done? By Sanskrita. Sanskrita means by well performed Karma Yoga. By means of well performed Karma Yoga, one gets Jnana, and by means of Jnana, the Atma is realized. So Jnana Karma Atmike Nishte Yoga Lakshe Sanskrite Atma Anubhuti Siddhyarte. So the first 6 chapter it is dealing with Atma Anubhuti. Atma Anubhuti means self-realization. Purva Shadgena Chodite. So first 6 chapter is dedicated for realizing the self. So this is the essence of, this is the subject matter which is going to be discussed in the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Now what is the first chapter dealing with? He says, Asthana Sneha Karunya Dharma Dharma Diyakulam Partham Prapannam Uddishya Shastra Avataranam Kritam. Yesterday the class was in Tamil. No, the class was in English. English class we have from 6:30 to 7 o'clock, and Tamil class is from 7:30 to 8 o'clock. So don't confuse yourself. Here, so he says the first chapter it is dealing about Asthana Sneha Karunya Dharma Dharma Diyakulam Partham Prapanna Uddishya Shastra Avataranam Kritam. Asthana Sneha Karunya, that is misplaced sneha, misplaced affection and misplaced relationship. Asthana Sneha Karunya Dharma Dharma Diyakulam, and understanding or seeing dharma as adharma and adharma as dharma. So these are the problems which Arjuna faced. He has misplaced his mercy. Where he should not keep his mercy, he misplaced his mercy, and he considered the wrong people as his own relatives. So Asthana Sneha Karunya, Dharma Dharma Diyakulam. And he considered what is Dharma as actually as Adharma, and whatever is Adharma, he considered that as Dharma. So this is the quality of Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, people, they always considered Adharmic as Dharma and Dharmic activities as Adharma. So Arjuna had this three problem: Asthana, Sneha Karunya, Dharma, Dharma Diyakulam. Then what he did? Partham, Prapanna Buddhishya. He has surrendered himself to Krishna. Then what happened? Then Shastra Avataranam Kritam. Then Krishna spoke this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So in the Bhagavad Gita, in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita itself, we can understand there are two kinds of soul who heard Bhagavad Gita. One is Arjuna, the other one is Dhritarashtra. So both heard Bhagavad Gita, but Arjuna got cleared of his doubt, of his confusion, and he was actually satisfied. But Dhritarashtra, even after hearing Bhagavad Gita, he was still confused, he was not satisfied. Why? Because even though you may hear Bhagavad Gita, but without the mood of surrendering, without the mood of accepting Krishna as your Guru or as Supreme Lord, then just hearing Bhagavad Gita theoretically will not help us. We may hear Bhagavad Gita, we may try to understand Bhagavad Gita with our intellectual way of understanding, but it won't help us. There are many people who can recite Bhagavad Gita up and down from top to bottom, but they don't have devotion, they don't have any change in their heart. Why? Because they don't have this surrendering mood. Unless you have this surrendering mood, unless you understand, yes, only by Bhagavad Gita, only by this knowledge, I can be saved. One day this is the way for me to get out of this material world. Unless with this conviction, if we don't hear this Bhagavad Gita, if we just hear Bhagavad Gita as a ritual, as a pious activity, as a mental exercise, as some ego satisfaction for boosting ourselves, then Bhagavad Gita will not help us. So this is how we can understand from Dhritarashtra and from Arjuna how we should hear Bhagavad Gita. That's why in Vedas it is said, Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan Nirveda Mataya Tadvigyanartam sa Gurumeva Abhigachet Samitpanihi Shotriyam Brahmanishtam. It says Nirveda Mataya, unless we get frustrated with all our material endeavor, unless we understand, yes, we are helpless, only Krishna can help us, then with that mood, if we can approach Guru or Krishna or Bhagavad Gita, then we can get benefited. Otherwise, if you just do it as a matter of ritual, as a matter of duty, as a matter of pious activity, maybe any other reason, it won't help us. So we should be careful while hearing Bhagavad Gita, in what mode we should hear this Bhagavad Gita. So this first chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. It speaks about Arjuna's distress. So here distress is considered as yoga. Bhagavad Gita is Yoga Shastra because Bhagavad Gita is ultimately meant for reconnecting us with the super soul. So that's why it's called Yoga Shastra. And it is said here, it's called, first chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Vishada Yoga means distress yoga. Usually people, they undergo distress. And distress cannot be called as yoga because just distress cannot become yoga. When the distress is turned towards Lord, then it becomes an yoga. That's why here Arjuna, when he got into problem, then because of this problem, because of this distress, he surrendered to Krishna. Otherwise, he may not have surrendered. Like we have Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj was ruling the country. He was a devotee. He was ruling the country. He was living a very nice life. But when he got a problem, then he turned towards the Lord. Then he asked question like, Purushasya karyam vriyamanasya sarvada yat shrotavyam yat shabhyam yat kirtitavyam riba prabhoho smartavyam bhajataneyam va bruhiva yat viparyayam. Then he turned towards Sukadeva Goswami and he asked question, what is the duty of a person who is in the verge of death? What he should hear, what he should remember, what he should chant, and the opposite. Unless he gets this kind of kick or he gets this kind of problem, maybe he won't surrender himself and he will never hear Bhagavatam. He may be continuing his life. But when you get problem, the devotees, they turn around towards Lord. But materialistic people, they go away from the Lord. There is a difference. So this problem, this distress can become a yoga when it is turned towards the Lord. That's why it is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Arjuna, because of his Vishada, because of his distress, he connected himself with the Lord. So that is the first chapter. That is the subject matter of first chapter, Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So in this first chapter, the first shloka was spoken by Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra vacha dharma kshetre kurukshetre samavedayutsavah mamaka pandavaschaiva kima kurvada sanjaya. So why Dhritarashtra is kept in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita? Because actually Dhritarashtra represents us. Dhritarashtra means he has two great qualities. What are they? One is Dhritarashtra means he is firmly fixed in his attachment. He is firmly fixed in his country. He doesn't want to leave his country. He doesn't want to leave his palace. He doesn't want to leave his position. He doesn't want to leave his designation. So he's firmly fixed. That's why it's called Dhritarashtra. So and also he's blind from birth, but still he has so much attachment for his sons, for his unseen kingdom. Even though he has never seen his kingdom, even though he has never seen Duryodhana, but still just by hearing the word called Duryodhana, just by hearing the son's name, he was so much attached. So we are also just like Dhritarashtra. We are so much attached with this body. This body is also called Rashtra or a field. Krishna is going to speak about this. So this body is like a Rashtra, like a country, and soul, it is situated in this country, and we are also attached with this body. So that's why we are just like Dhritarashtra, and also we are blindly attached with unseen happiness. We have never seen any happiness in this material world. Prahlad Maharaj says, Kutra Ashya Shruti Shukam Mrigadrishna Rupaha. Who has seen happiness? Happiness we have heard many times. This will make up happy, this is happy, this is happy. But we have never seen happiness. So just by hearing, we get attached with that happiness, unseen happiness. Like Dhritarashtra, just by hearing the names of Kauravas, he become attached. So Dhritarashtra is mentioned in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because this is Dhritarashtra's question. Like we are also like a Dhritarashtra, we should question and we should hear Bhagavad Gita. So that's why Dhritarashtra is kept in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. And who is Duryodhana? Duryodhana means one who fights for wrong cause or nasty fighter. Duryodhana. So when you have a father like Dhritarashtra, then you become Duryodhana, because we have this strong attachment for this body, for the material enjoyment. So what we are doing, we are actually fighting, we are actually striving, we are actually working for useless things in this material world. We are all fighting every day. We are all in the war. We are all like in the Yodhana. We are all fighting every day. Right from morning till evening, we are all working so hard, but for the wrong cause. Because we are attached with this body, we are attached with material enjoyment. So we are just like Duryodhana, because we have a father like Dhritarashtra. So both represent us. So this Dhritarashtra, he asked this question to Sanjaya, and we know the background, how this conversation happened, that we have already discussed. He says, Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveda yutsavaha mamaka pandavaschaiva kima kurvada Sanjaya. He says this Dharma kshetra is actually this Kurukshetra is actually Dharma kshetra. Then he says Dharma kshetre Kurukshetre samaveda yutsavaha. They have assembled to fight. And what did they do? He says Mamaka Pandavaschaiva. He says Mamakaha. Mamaka means my sons. So when you say my, I and my, it represents Rajoguna and Tamoguna. So here we can see the Kauravas, they represent Rajoguna and Tamoguna. And when you say Pandavaha, Pandava means Pandu. Pandu means he's white in color. So white means it's Sattvaguna. So Pandavas, they represent Sattvaguna. So there is always fight between Sattvaguna and Rajoguna and Tamoguna. So this is what it is represented here. And Kauravas, they are many in number, and Pandavas, they are very less in number. In this way, in our heart also, this is considered as Kurukshetra. This body is considered as Kurukshetra. In this Kurukshetra, we have few good qualities like Pandavas, and we have unlimited bad qualities like Kauravas. And there is always fight is happening between these good qualities and bad qualities. So even though we have good qualities, we cannot come out of these bad qualities. Why? Because we have to take shelter of Krishna. If we take shelter of Krishna with those good qualities, then these good qualities will become strong. They can kill all the bad qualities. So when you have good qualities, use it for Krishna. So that is what it is mentioned in the first shloka itself, that there is always fight between good and bad qualities in our heart. So we should take shelter of Krishna with our good qualities. We should serve Krishna. Then with the help of Krishna, what happens? All our bad qualities are destroyed. And also it is mentioned that don't worry about the enemies. They may be unlimited in number. You may be very few, you may be very weak, but when you take shelter of Krishna, you can come out victorious. So we should be always determined, or we should be always have this conviction that yes, Krishna is with me, I am with Krishna. So I should go on with my devotion service. Like Prabhupada, he was fearless. He went alone and he could conquer the whole world. Why? Because he knows Krishna is with him and he is with Krishna's side. Even though so many people that discouraged him, no, you cannot do this, you are alone, you are old, that is cold. But Prabhupada said, I am very bold, I can do this. How? Because he knows that Krishna is with him. So that's understanding. When we are practicing devotional service, we may be very weak. Yes, but when we take help from Krishna, Krishna can definitely help us. So that's what this Kurukshetra also indicates. And also, even though you may have knowledge, but unless you have the mercy of Guru, this knowledge is useless. So Arjuna, he may have knowledge, but unless he surrendered himself to Krishna and he was guided by Krishna, he couldn't come out of his confusion. So we may have knowledge, but unless we surrender ourselves to a Guru and take shelter of a Guru under his proper guidance, if we cannot practice devotion service, then our devotion service cannot be strong. So this is what we can understand from this first shloka. And also we can understand that in the Mahabharata Yuddha, Krishna was like an observer. He was not involved in fighting. So in this body, we can see Krishna is just an observer. He's a Chaitya Guru. He's just watching us. He's not involved in fighting. But we should make an endeavor. If we endeavor, then Krishna will help us. So that's what Pandavas they did. They endeavored and Krishna helped. Krishna was just an observer. Similarly, in our devotion service, we should make an endeavor. We should not become a lazy and tell, okay, now Krishna, you take care, I will become lazy. No, Krishna doesn't want lazy people. Krishna says, you endeavor, I will help you. In the similar way, Pandavas, we can see Krishna was just helping them. But Pandavas, they did all kinds of work. So this is what we can understand from this first shloka. And Krishna, as a purpose of his appearance, he says, Dharma samsthapanarthaya. So to re-establish Dharma, we have to take out the useless weeds. So the Kauravas are considered as useless weeds. So he wanted to take out these weeds. When you take out these weeds, what's meant by Chaitya Guru? Chaitya Guru means one who, it's like Paramatma, we can say. So Paramatma, he's an observer. He doesn't involve in anything. He just observes, he just sanctions, and he guides us. So that's called Chaitya Guru. So in this shloka, the question asked by Dhritarashtra, it is indirect question. He wanted to ask this thing, whether my sons are gaining victory or not. That is the ultimate motive behind the question of Dhritarashtra. But he actually asked it in an indirect way to Sanjaya, what happened? So Sanjay understood the mood of Dhritarashtra. So as Dhritarashtra asked indirectly, now Sanjay is also answering him indirectly. He did not say directly, okay, your sons are going to fail and Pandava is going to win. He doesn't say directly. He's going to speak this in the end of Bhagavad Gita. But here, now he also speaks indirectly what Sanjay is going to speak. Today, actually, I was thinking to cover first 13 shloka, but we are already running out of time. I will end here. If you have any questions or comments, you can always actually ask me later. Srimad Bhagavad Gita